Kia ora, Aotearoa, Angus Hines here at the Met Service studio. Just before we get into the weather forecast, I wanted to take a quick second and say that after 4.5 years of fronting the Met Service weather broadcasts, today is my final day in the studio. It has been a real pleasure to talk about the current and upcoming weather with you all over the years. I have really enjoyed my time here. Special thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and extra special thank you to those of you who have reached out with a nice comment or a question about the weather. We really are a nation that is passionate and curious about the weather around our country. Don't worry though, we have got some fantastic people joining the team, so we will be able to continue to deliver daily weather broadcasts that you have learned to love and expect. Now, talk about getting put through your paces on the final day, because there is a lot of severe weather happening over the next 24 to 48 hours. Might not feel like it at the moment, still fine in many areas, but rapidly approaching from the west. We've got this big band of cloud. Underneath that, there's a lot of rainfall. It's going to come hand in hand with some strong northwest gales for many parts of the country. So by Thursday night, by Friday morning, we're looking wet, we're looking windy for much of Aotearoa. We've got a whole lot of severe weather warnings. I'll quickly flash them up on screen now, but not going to go through all the detail here. If you would like a little extra info, we've got a severe weather video covering all of these areas. But it's rain warnings for the Western South Island, rain watches for some southern areas, parts of the North Island under watch and warning as well. Then it's gale force wind warnings through central parts of the South Island and around Wellington as well. So large parts of the nation likely to be affected in the coming couple of days as this strong wind, this heavy rain swoops across the nation on Friday. Then throughout the day on Friday, this leading front slows down a bit, keeps rain going across the top half of the North Island. Meanwhile, there's a second burst of rain, which is much more rapidly moving up the South Island, some cooler wind associated with that as well. So by Friday night, it's a bit of a mess with rain across large parts of the country. But the good news is, looking out beyond this does push away quite early on in the weekend, and we have some fine weather on the horizon. But before that comes, it's a wet day here. Strong northwest winds as well. Cloudy skies across the top of the country. The rain is a little hit and miss. It doesn't really look to be persistent for most of these areas. There will be some long, dry stretches of weather through your day, but when it's dry, it's still mostly cloudy. The chance for heavier rain comes in through the afternoon, early evening. You see some of the darker blue blobs pop up across the map. Not everyone's going to get some heavy rain, but there will certainly be some pockets of heavy rain across this part of the Motu on Friday afternoon and evening. Really windy morning around here, particularly for Wellington. We have got that strong wind warning active for the capital. There will be some rain around at first as well. The morning, it's mostly on the western side of the country. That's Wellington, that's Kapiti, that's Taranaki. Chance of a shower elsewhere. Through the afternoon, as this frontal band does cross through, that shower risk probably does hit everyone for a while, but actually clears up quite nicely after that. Stays windy, but brighter, sunnier weather for mid-late afternoon into the evening. Perhaps just the hour or two before midnight, rain returns to many in the west. Across to the South Island now, a bit of a mixed day here. Chance of rain really early on the day for everyone, but actually through the morning, clearing and some sun is arriving. We kind of have a little lull there in between those two weather features. It will be a windy day, but it does stay nice and bright through central parts of the day, through into the afternoon for the east and north of the South Island. Once we get into the afternoon though, rain really returns on this western side. Heavy thundery falls there Friday afternoon and evening. And while a lot of the day does look dry from Christchurch around to Nelson, I think by the end of the day showers will be permeating all of those regions, so it is a bit of a soggy finish to your Friday. Looking further south now, patchy rain for many central parts of the lower South Island Friday morning. Heavy rain at first for Milford Sound. Right along this east coast, probably a dry morning with some strong winds and some high cloud. Into the afternoon, the wind does shift around to the southwest, front slide northwards. Shower risk through all of these urban centres on Friday afternoon, slowly subsiding for what is actually a relatively clear night, because we see that rain just move further and further northwards away from this region. That's the trend as we move into the weekend. Rain moving northwards through the first half of the day on Saturday, bringing a damp spell to much of Te Ika Amaui, the North Island. But in behind our frontal systems, high pressure building, fine weather setting in. So it is early wet weather for pretty much everyone up here, but by lunchtime, clearing up in the southern half. In the afternoon, clearing up in the northern half. And by Saturday evening, fine weather across the whole of the North Island. Good news there for Homegrown and Wellington, as well as Womad around Taranaki. Early rainfall, but heading in the right direction through the afternoon and evening. A sunny start for the South Island, a little bit cooler than what you're used to after some warmer days this week. And then we have a little bit of cloud starting to build, particularly on the southern half of the island through the afternoon and evening. But it does stay dry in these areas. All things considered, it is looking like a mighty fine weekend. So you can always get the latest weather info at metservice.com. That is it from me, and for the final time, kia pai te rā.